This lecture series has been organized since 2003 by the Asser Institute, the Grossius Center of Leiden University, and ourselves. And I'm pleased to be joined here this evening by Mr. Shawan Jabarin and Mr. Raji Sourani. Mr. Jabarin is a General Director of Al-Haq, a Palestinian human rights organization, and a part-time lecturer at Birzeit University. He is a veteran peace activist holding an LLM in human rights law from the Irish Centre for Human Rights, where he received a distinguished graduate award. He was the first Palestinian to be recognized by Amnesty International as a prisoner of conscience during his detention in Israel. Mr. Sourani is a lawyer and founding director of the Palestinian Center for Human Rights. He has represented clients in the Israeli military courts, providing pro bono legal assistance, legal advice and representation to victims of human rights abuses. Mr. Sourani has also contributed to studies on human rights in Palestine and has been detained several times and received several international human rights awards. So moving on to tonight's lecture, before I give the floor to our distinguished panel, on April 1st, Palestine will become the 123rd state party to join the ICC Rome Statute. The court will have jurisdiction over all alleged grave crimes committed in the Palestinian territory and over its nationals from that date forward. The accession brings to 3 the number of ICC member states in the Middle East, North Africa region, Jordan and Tunisia being the other 2. And civil society hopes the move will encourage other states in the region, including Israel, to join the ICC and adopt national laws in line with the Rome Statute. Palestine has also submitted a separate declaration to the ICC granting the court jurisdiction over alleged crimes committed on Palestinian territory since 13 June of last year, the date of initiation of the Israel-Gaza hostilities. On the basis of this declaration, the prosecutor has already opened a preliminary examination to determine whether a full investigation is warranted. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Shawan.
It's Raji. Please, Raji. Start.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for this introduction. Nothing like being a lawyer in the occupied Palestinian territories, defending victims of human rights violations subject to war crimes and crimes against humanity. And as a lawyer who believed in justice, I was rather like a romantic revolutionary, that thinking by defending victims you can really achieve justice. 37 years I've been doing all the way along this on a very day-to-day basis, defending Palestinian victims, all sorts, all kinds of victims, whether individuals or groups, whether somebody has been tortured and wished to die 40 times a day, or a family, 29 members of it has been erased within seconds. It's a ceremony, it's it's Hidayah, it's Batish, and many, many other families. We wanted them to seek justice for them. We are lawyers, professional lawyers, committed lawyers, having mission or mission to bring justice to our victims, and that's why we resorted first to the national jurisdiction, the law of occupier. We learned and knew about the Israeli legal system. We learned and knew about the Israeli laws. We knew even much about the Israeli military court system in the occupied territories, and we knew the Hebrew language. And we tried, without any illusions about occupation laws, to achieve sort of justice. Over years and years, and believe me, we are not third-class lawyers, in cooperation with our Israeli counterparts, try to achieve justice to our victims. But soon you discover this is very schizophrenic system. From one side, you are having first-class land judges, first-class prosecutors, first-class lawyers, and you look to their decisions and you look to the reasoning and you learn and you inspire, and you are just talking about first-class legal system when the issue related to the Israeli Jew. Same person, same judge, and same lawyer, same prosecutor. When it comes to Palestinian, you are talking 100 degrees different personality. This famous Israeli legal system legitimized torture, extrajudicial killing, land confiscation, deportation, administrative detention, expulsion, etc. When we came to the peak of that, and after years of losing, after tens of thousands of cases has been filed there, and after ruling of the High Court of Justice saying about Gaza illegal, inhuman siege, the siege which forms sort of collective punishment, the siege which the ICRC said should be lifted completely, imminently, not partially, but completely. They say nobody should be worried about famine in Gaza. Nobody will die from hunger. We are counting how many calories each Gazan takes. If this is not racism, what we can call it. We move on, and we are having custody operation, and we have the famous Goldstone report, in which this report stated two simple facts: time frame, implementation mechanism. He said within 6 months, if Israel doesn't investigate the cases, this file should be transferred to the Security Council. Security Council should refer to the ICC to begin effective investigation in it. We have the names, we have the dates, we have the numbers, we have the legal files. And nothing since then happened. We filed 1,128 criminal complaints to the MAG, Military Attorney General. We were able to have 19 answers and accountability for 6. Nothing till this moment had happened. The other war in 2012, nothing happened. And we have the last offensive on Gaza, July, August last year. And since then till today, no accountability had happened, though we filed this time 1,068 criminal complaint and war crimes to the Military Attorney General in Israel. After you exhaust national remedies, try your best, and you achieve nothing. Nothing cases, but in law, they made very serious, unique amendment in the Israeli laws and procedures. The last one was the amendment number 8 of the tort law, which in simple, clear-cut way doesn't allow accountability for an Israeli official, whether politician or military or security individuals, as far the war was declared or the military operation declared formally. So they say no accountability for anybody in Israel. We resorted to UJ after we exhausted all national remedies recognized and needed, and we were able to have some success here and there. I mean, London, or in Madrid, for example, swiftly, immediately, you hear foreign ministers apologizing and promise to change the law, and the law is changed in a few months. So more immunity being provided for the war criminals, more legal and political protection being provided for the Israeli war criminals. We represent victims as lawyers, as human rights organizations. We look to their eyes or their families or ears on day-to-day basis. And we are committed to bring justice for them. And we have to try the best for them. And we have the opportunity in resorting to ICC. This failed in 2009 when PA tried to ask ICC ex-prosecutor Ocampo to activate that. Very unfortunately, for very ununderstandable reasons, we don't know yet why he refused. Even in April, a couple of months before he left, he insisted to make a press conference to ensure that ICC is blocked in our face. And the reason, Palestine is not recognized as a state. Finally, Palestine has been recognized as a state in 2012 as non-member state, and the road was there for PLO, PA to sign and ratify the Rome status. incredible level of political pressure mounted on the PA, especially by the Americans, by the Europeans, and by the Israelis. And accordingly, PA declined from signing and ratifying that for the last 2 years. Palestinian human rights organizations, civil society were in the forefront in calling upon the leadership to sign and ratify Rome status. To that level, we said the legitimacy of the PLO and PA defending the suffering and the blood and the pain of the Palestinian people. Finally, PA signed and ratified Rome status with entire consensus of the Palestinian human rights organizations, civil society, the Palestinian street, and the entire rainbow of the Palestinian political organizations who endorsed and supported that. April 1st, the road will be paved to begin filing our cases. We as a human rights organizations, for the first time ever in our history, coordinated in very unique, close manner. We prepared our files, we prepared our data, and I can assure you, we made it possible that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, one of the most well-documented conflicts in history. We have simple slogan: we are not going to forget or to forgive, and we will look after all those who committed war crimes and crimes against humanity, against our people, our clients, the victims. Because simply, not because we are Palestinians, but as citizens of the world. We hate bin Laden, we hate ISIS, we hate Taliban, because they are doing rule of jungle. And as we hate them because they want to have the rule of jungle, we don't want to see Europe, US, with the rule of jungle. We just simply in need of one thing: rule of law and justice for our victims. We are not sick or tired after all these years. We are full of optimism. We know we are defending just, right, and fine cause. We will fight for it. And we will use the law in the right way. ICC, Rome status, IHL is not a Palestinian invention. It's not Arabic invention. It's not Islamic invention. It's the creme de la creme of the human experience. And that's why we entitled legitimately to use it and try to bring through it justice to our victims. We have been described so far by the Israeli and some Western media. We are agents of terrorist organizations. We are misusing international law. We are misusing international humanitarian law. We are doing lawfare. This is ugly, bad, and disrespectful. We are committed to continue with our mission to try our best to bring justice of our victims. We are full of optimism. We know we have just, fair, and right cause, and we know one day we will achieve justice for our victims. I'll stop here and give the talk to my colleague Shawan.
Thank you.
Thank you for your interest and your gathering today to hear us, and thanks for Coalition for the ICC, for Asad Institute. It's a great honor to be with you tonight to speak about Palestine and the ICC, the situation in Palestine. I was here in 2013, 2 years ago, in this institute, and at that time I addressed the human rights situation in Palestine and the ICC, because at that time we used to push for the ICC and mainly the prosecutor office to act according the declaration in 2009 that it was submitted by Palestinian Justice Minister and gave the ICC, the full jurisdiction and limit time for the jurisdiction since 2002. And I said at that time, I still remember that we will continue, we will not give up, and we will continue to push for justice for the victims. And the ICC is responsible. I think it was a long journey until we got, the accession, and also to submit a declaration according Article 12.3. It was a historical moment. Many people, they thought that they will not do it, but they did it. And they did it for different reasons. One of that, the doors closed before the Palestinian leaders, politically speaking. It was closed. The ICC, it was a bargaining chip, but also they discovered that they have to proceed and they have nothing to lose. But they lost also their credibility in their people's eyes. It was clear that the Palestinian leaders, they lost. And because of that, they proceeded on that. And I think it's a wise and a courageous step. They were courageous and also wise by taking this step. Now there are, behind all of these things, there are many different things, many different questions. I'm sure that also in your minds. In our point of view, this is also a self-commitment by Palestinians. The international community, instead of act according their obligation under the international law, many of them, they try to stop Palestinians to move forward in this line. And this is a contradict issue. We don't believe about it. Sometimes we can't believe about it. Many of European countries, they used to contact Palestinians and to pressure them not to move forward, and they threatened them. The Americans, they threatened them. And some of European countries, they said, if you want us to vote on a favor of Palestine state before the General Assembly, UN General Assembly, you have to give us a commitment not to join the ICC for the next 25 years. This is what the Brits, the UK leaders said to the Palestinians at that time. Just you can imagine, this is a member state with the ICC, and they have also duties and obligations according also the statute of the ICC, and they tried to push countries back not to sign and not to ratify and not to accede to the ICC. What's this? For what? Exactly for what? For not having a justice for the victims? Is this, their values and their commitments and their obligations? This is, part of the story. Because of that, I said it's a long story. It was a long story, really. And also it's continued as a long story. We know that the Palestinians, some of the people, they said, by acceding to the ICC, you took a risk in yourself. Because the Israelis, they will use that against you as Palestinians. I say, okay, let them use it. If there is a cases, they can use it. Use this peaceful system, legal system. Let them use it. Let's give, the right to the ICC to decide, to the prosecutor, to the court, to decide about the cases. Let the Israeli bring cases against Palestinians. We have no problem with that. But why the Israelis, they are afraid? And they have this big fear from the ICC. I think because they know well what they are committing and what they are doing and what they did in Palestine when it comes, to the crimes that Raji, he mentioned part of that, like extrajudicial killing, like the house demolitions, property destruction, like transfer of civilians within the occupied territory outside, and also transfer the Israeli civilians to the occupied territory, which is constituted as a war crime. That's because they know well what they are doing, and here that they try to use that as propaganda, against Palestinians here, there. It's okay for us. Leave that for the court to decide about it. I think it's fair enough to leave that for the court. Why this propaganda? Another thing is, still, I'm here speaking, I'm giving some information. The Canadian, they were, the main player behind establishing the ICC, and really, they invested a lot in the ICC since the beginning, and even before. But today, they are blind. Completely, they are acting against, their obligation. And I saw, the communication between them, the U.S., Israel, with the Secretary General, UN Secretary General, regarding all the human rights treaties that Palestinians acceded to, and also the ICC. And they said that Palestine is not state, has no right to join, and we have no legal obligation, according, the treaty, to communicate with the Palestinians. This is for what? If it's, to protect civilians, it's okay. I am with them. If it's for justice, okay. What's exactly for what? To leave, the victims without any remedy, without any justice, without anything, or what? That's. And if the people feel that all the doors are closed before them, and there is no justice will provide to them, I'm sure that they will commit anything. If you lose hope, and if you have nothing to lose, you can commit anything. And here, I think what they are doing, some of the states, completely it's against law, against rule of law, against their legal obligations, against justice, against humanity, and that's the case. And still, until today, there is a pressure on the prosecutor office not to proceed also. We know this is, the politics, but we have a full confidence with the ICC prosecutor. We have no doubt about her independence, about her professionality, and they will proceed. This is the case. Another thing is, the one who politicized the ICC is the one who will pressure the ICC not to proceed. This, not the one who will join the ICC and taking a commitment on himself. They politicized the ICC, not the Palestinians politicized the ICC. We are defending the ICC. And we still have a long journey also to move on. One of that is to integrate the statute in the Palestinian laws, to establish also our laws. This is an issue. We are working on it, and we are taking things seriously. That's the case. Some people say that the Israelis, they have a sophisticated system, and they will play the game around of, all the files or something like that. Okay, let them. If the Israelis is serious and want to proceed professionally, independently, and really to provide the justice for the victims and remedy for the victims, we have no problem with that. But let's see what's happened before. Let's just evaluate what happened before. And Raji, he mentioned that. And I don't want to repeat it. There is nothing before Palestinian victims, no justice provided to them. And because of that, we are looking for a justice outside, and mainly before the permanent body of justice is called the ICC. That's an issue. How we will proceed? As a civil society organization, we will do our best in a professional way. We will stand behind the rights of the victims, and we will not give up. We will not even look back, even if we pay the price of that. We are ready for that on all levels, personal level, institutional level, and all levels. And we will continue, work on that. Maybe it takes some time, but it's okay. It's okay. Opening the preliminary examination also gave a hope, and I think it was a positive message, and show us a seriousness from the prosecutor office. And we hope that this will lead to investigation of the crimes happened in Palestine. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if there are crimes the Israeli will claim against Palestinians, let them do that. We have no problem with that. Yeah. This is now where we are. On the other side, also, the Israelis, ask, and this is what Lieberman, the foreign minister, Israeli foreign minister, he asked, and he made a public statement that the ICC has to be closed and dissolved. That's the case. They don't want it. I don't know why. Anyone criticize Israel, he will become anti-Semitic. Anyone raise the issue of law and rule of law, he will become a terrorist and extremist. I think this is things we don't listen to. We listen to one thing because we do believe about it. Rule of law, justice, and this is our line. And this is the main line, and we will continue in that. I'm sure that there are many, many questions also in your mind regarding this issue and other issues, but also the situation now in Gaza, as it's catastrophic. Just you can imagine around 2 million people in 350 kilometers square sieged without any hope. Now you are speaking about 8 years, completely as a comprehensive siege on Gaza. And the last offensive, military offensive against Gaza, it was a clear and destruct, completely more than 10,000 houses and around 32,000 apartments and houses partially. This is the case, and no reconstruction in Gaza. And more than that, the UN, I think, they failed, and they didn't act according to their legal obligation in the agreement with the Israelis, and they became as just an intelligence spy to the Israelis. They didn't defend the rights according to the international law, human rights, or the rights of the people according to the international humanitarian law, the UN. And here I'm criticizing the UN and the agreement. It was, submitted and signed by UN, Palestinian Authority, and Israel. And I'm sure that in the next few days you will read something about that, and you will shock when you read this agreement. It's still confidential, but I read it. And I don't want to speak more at this moment about all of these things. This is an issue, The settlements continue. And I will finish by saying that if the criminal has no price to pay and feel that he or she is enjoying impunity, he or she will repeat their crimes again and again and again. And this is what has been happening with the Israelis criminals. If there is a price, and we look at the ICC not just as a punishment tool, we look at it as also a preventive tool for the future. Because, as I mentioned, the criminals has to pay a price. And if they pay a price, maybe they will take care with their practices, with their policies, with their actions. And they will account until 10 before they commit their crimes or actions. This is, how we look at the ICC. The ICC is not just a body for a punishment. We look at it as, in our case, as a preventive also body. I will stop until here, and I will leave the floor for you and for the moderator, for Neil, to address the questions and any things in your mind. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we'll open up the floor to any questions. Thank you, Shawan. And yeah, if you want to identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Farouk Al-Husseini. I'd like to ask the panelists whether they think, particularly in light of the last operation of Protective Edge, and from the evidence they've seen on the ground, do they think that there was intent to destroy part or all of the Palestinian people? Do you think that there's intent? Do you think that there are constitutive elements for the crime of genocide?
Thank you. I will take a few questions and then get the answers.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentations. I would like to hear a little bit more about your strategic considerations. Mr. Sourani, you said IHL is the crème la crème. My understanding is that the discussion of the last 2-3 years is that we're moving away from focusing on IHL and moving more on the crimes of apartheid and colonialism. And that is one thing I missed a little bit in your presentations. Well, a lot has been happened, like Mr. Jabarin said, over the last 2 years, and I would like to know where you stand in that discussion. And in your moves to the ICC prosecutor, how does that discussion play a role? I mean, how is that discussion moving to apartheid and colonialism as a focus for your strategy? How does that how is that translated into your discussions and your complaints towards the ICC prosecutor? My other question is whether you've spoken to the Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs while you're here, and what the discussions contain, whether you can say something about that, whether there's a change with our new Minister of Foreign Affairs. And if I may, I have one other question, but I'll leave it up to you to chair whether that's possible to be answered. The question, if litigation before Israeli courts is a dead end, and it is a dead end. On the contrary, some say litigation strengthens the Israeli policies and strengthens the legitimacy of the occupation. What are your thoughts about that when you go to court on behalf of your Palestinian victims? If you know that at the end of the day, it has a reverse effect. Thank you.
Okay, let's take one more question.
This is Nanda from the ICTY. This is a question to both the speakers on what they expect to come out of the report of the Independent Gaza Commission, because they were supposed to put in the report by the 23rd of March, but we understand it has been delayed until June. And as a follow-up question specifically to Mr. Shawan, because you did mention everything that's going on in the background and the kind of political pressure that has been exerted on Palestine, what are your thoughts on the commission being headed by an American? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for those questions. Will we go to you first?
Okay, so
Maybe you can take the first.
regarding the first question from Mr. Husseini. Yeah, I got it directly when you say intent, that you meant the crime of genocide. To be honest with you, I think there is some basis to think and to discuss. But this issue, it's a debatable thing. I have no doubt that they have intention to destruct, and they have an intention to kill. No doubt of that. It's clear, from the documentation that we did, and from the information and also from the statements. Just you can imagine one of the commanders. He used to refer and to go to Torah. He's a religious, and he used to encourage also his soldiers to kill and to do things like that. Maybe you can reach, but this is also a matter of discussion. We are discussing that. We are gathering the information, but we haven't concluded yet a position like that. It's more easy for us to say it's war crimes and crimes against humanity. And we are in this line. We're still in this line. Now, regarding the apartheid, also it's in our table. We're discussing it. And I don't want to speak more in details about what we do, but apartheid, we look at it as a crime. And we are discussing with some professionals, academics, and we raised this issue even before with some people. Some of them, they are here also in this hall. This is an issue we will proceed on. And we will think about all of these things. We think about the apartheid, we think about pillage, we think about different also crimes taking place in Palestine. And regarding the, and I know what you mean, by the study and all of these things, and the report we did jointly with others also, and thanks for Professor Dugart, he's here, and the title of that academic research or publication called Beyond Occupation, Apartheid, Colonialism, and Occupation. And it came after, the question that addressed by Professor Dugart when he was the special, rapporteur on the occupied, U.S. special rapporteur on the occupied territory. in his latest report before the Human Rights Council, and he addressed, and he said maybe it's a time to address the question if the practices of Israel just, practices of occupation or beyond that. It's reached, the nature of colonialism and apartheid. And we studied that question fully and deeply. And we concluded after maybe 2 years of research and study that yes, this occupation is not just an ordinary occupation. It doesn't, the nature of this occupation also beyond that. And it meets, I think, the criteria of apartheid and colonialism. And here also this will be one, also it's a crime, and we will push for it. The other issue about the foreign ministry, and we met with them today, and we spoke with them, and it was a productive discussion in general, and we addressed our concerns and our messages clearly and fully, to them. And regarding the ICC, they said, that no statement, it means a statement. No position, it means a position. That's the case. They are with. That's what they said. I will leave also the Israeli courts and how using that, and to Raji to deal with it. But I understand your point well, and the concern also behind. But at the end, the Israeli, they can't continue forever in this way, to hide themselves and to play the game. That's for many different reasons. One of the reasons is if the ICC is serious, taking things seriously. Another thing is also some of the Israeli organizations, they are watching and monitoring the judiciary system and how they proceed and how they act. And they came out also before the Palestinians joined the ICC, and they said, it's nonsense. It's useless to use the Israeli courts and the Israeli judiciary system on the cases of war crimes and things like that, and what's going on in the occupied territory. And there is no professional and independent investigation system in Israel, and there is no remedy. This is what they said. They came out with a clear statement, clear press release. Regarding the Commission of Inquiry, UN Commission of Inquiry, with some pain in our heart, I don't want to say many things, but I can say that we feel, and this is the concern that we have, that there is a politics behind from other states, but we do believe about the independence of the Commission, and we do believe about their professionality. And I think, and it was behind the scene, it was some pressure from here and intervention from there, that's the case. But at the end, they came with the suggestion to say that we need more time. Okay, let's give them a time. The Israelis, they criticized Shabbos, who we trust, who we, look at him as a professional person, and they justified their position not to cooperate with because he's a biased. Now the Commission is without Shabbos. Let's see how they will cooperate with this Commission. And here, our message to all of the states, the international community, to pressure Israel to let the Commission to go to Gaza and to investigate on the ground the cases. If the Israelis has nothing to hide, let the Commission go and investigate. It's as simple like that. And I think this is the responsibility of the international community now and the Human Rights Council to push Israel to respect the mandate of the Commission and to allow the Commission to investigate. But we have full confidence with the Commission. We appeared before the Commission. We submitted them our information. We testified before them. We brought them all the information that we have, and we will continue cooperate with them and to provide them more information. Any information that we have, we will continue. I know what's going on and here and there, but we have not to let them success in that to kill the report. And this report, it will find its way to the ICC later on. That's what I have. Thank you.
You want more elaboration?
Yes, please.
Okay. What had happened in Gaza in the last summer, something really special and unique. I'm 61, living all my life at that part of the world, one-way ticket. I never ever thought in a nightmare this might happen. Gaza, 365 square kilometers, living in it, 2 million people. For 51 days, was like elephant in the garden. Gunboats bombing, tanks, rockets land to land, Apache, drones, F-16s, paratroops. No safe haven in Gaza. No safe place in Gaza. I can assure you, the 2 million people in 51 days, none of them thought next morning he or she will wake up and he or she is alive. In the eye of the storm, the civilians and the civilian targets. We as a human rights activists and organizations, we have no problem if the Israeli occupation want to target Hamas, Jihad, PFLP, DFLP, Fatah. We have no problem. We are not there to protect combatants. We are there to protect civilians and to protect them at the time of war. And what had happened? The Dahya doctrine has been applied. Hannibal doctrine has been applied. Entire areas raised. The bombing with 1-2 ton bombs were on the top and the heads of the people. Any on earth can say how legitimately 41,000 houses has been destroyed and demolished. And he can say why Shijaiya area has been raised, or Beit Hanun has been raised, or Zanna, or Khuza'a, or parts of Rafah. What the occupation has to do with power station to bomb it, sewage station to bomb it? Why the occupation bombing UNRWA schools used to be shelters for refugees, whom their houses just a few days ago has been destroyed and many of their deers killed? Why the occupation destroyed 490 factories, including dairy factories, entire civilian factories? Has nothing to do with anything. Even cows and the chickens has been targeted. Hospitals, during the operations, in operation theaters has been bombed, 17 ambulances with the injured and nurses being killed. This is not collateral damage. This is not disproportionality. It's a crime. Intentions? Yes. This wasn't coincident. And they say it in more than one time. We will send you to the Middle Ages. We will make your people having pain to be so angry on you. Our Twin Towers in Gaza, it's not like New York, but these are the Twin Towers of Gaza, destroyed. No justification, no military reasons. We are not naive, neither stupid. We are professional. We know how to make our cases. But Israel is lying and lying and lying. That's why it's not we. All international human rights organizations, from the wall to wall, said in very clear-cut, simple way, ICC, accountability. It's time for accountability. It cannot be tomorrow, it should be today. Now, should we say genocide? Should we say this is a crime of apartheid, a new brand of apartheid in the West Bank? Should we say? We have very, very rich menu. Believe me. I mean, the menu is very rich. But we want to have, for the beginning, light starters. We want to take Gaza war, we want to take Gaza siege, we want to take the annexation apartheid war and the advisory opinion of the ICJ, we want to take the settlements, and we will deal with that. We are not rushing. We are not ending with our files today or tomorrow. We have all the time, and we will do that in a professional, eloquent way as good lawyers should do it. We can also ask PA anytime to make referral. And if they decided to go with this, I think they have to listen carefully, to our advice and the legitimacy of any leadership, any political leadership, that they have to be loyal to their people suffering blood and swords. And I think this is not the end of the story. We have to go and begin gradually, incrementally, and believe me, we are lucky enough that we can strategize the work. And we will strategize the work. Now, we don't believe in the Israeli legal system while you are using it. Not because we are stupid or naive. Using Israeli legal system, precondition to use UJ or ICC. You cannot resort immediately. But maybe this was true and right till a certain moment. And a certain moment, the amendment in the tort law
we and Al-Haq invited most of the Israeli respected human rights organizations, Palestinian human rights organizations, and international human rights organizations, and many jurists and lawyers who are involved in these things to Malaga in April 2013, just to discuss that. And all of them, all of us, without exception, concluded one concrete result. The Israeli legal system boycotting us. We are not boycotting them. They are boycotting us. They are making our access to court rather mission impossible. If we will go and file cases against the article, the amendment of Article 8 of tort law, as I mentioned, we will be fined and accused of obstructing justice. It's Kafka. I mean, doesn't happen anywhere. You are threatening the victim. If you come, you will be fined. I can mention to you at least other 15 practical legal reasons they put in our face to make our mission rather mission impossible. One of them, before even this amendment, out of the blue they discovered we are not lawyers, and they said, who is this Raji Sourani? He's 37 years lawyer. What does that mean? It means nothing for us. He's not member in the bar, and we don't recognize any power of attorney he takes. So what we are doing effectively, we take the power of attorney, we build our file, soliciting with our Israeli counterparts, giving him the file or her the file with the instructions to go to the court with ABC. They say, we don't recognize this power of attorney. Okay, so what to do next? Should I, as an Israeli lawyer, go to Gaza? They say, no, you are not allowed to go to Gaza. So you will allow the client to come to Israel? Of course not. He's not allowed to come to Israel. So where to meet? Maybe you meet in Cairo, maybe you meet in Cyprus, maybe you meet in Paris, any place. But you are not allowed to Gaza, and he's not allowed to come to Israel. Imagine I'm taking a Samuni family to Paris or to Cairo to sign in the Israeli consulate the power of attorney for an Israeli lawyer. It's mission impossible. Now, they used to take something called court guarantee. What court guarantee? Not the court fees, but court guarantee. The court guarantee means when I file a case, that means I'm a serious person. They don't recognize we are serious. Okay. So you have to pay something like 7% of the case value. And that means something like 6,000-7,000 euros per file. We have 498 cases in 2009 in the Israeli court. I cannot afford it. I mean, no human rights organization can afford that. That means millions. I mean, we don't have that. And they said, you are playing ground with us. It's not only that the problem. You have 29 people from Samuni family and 22 from Dalio family. All of them died. You have to chop that to 29 files and 22 files. That means each file will be multiplied, 29 times or 22 times. And your mission, it's mission impossible. Of course, all relevant people who work on these cases, closely, they are aware about that. International organizations, Amnesty, the Watch, the FDH, ICJ, Euromed Human Rights Network, etc. They are aware about that. So our mission, we never thought justice and equity can be achieved under occupation. Stupid or naive only can think of that, and we are not, neither or. But we have to do that, and we have to come to this conclusion. So why you are resorting to the ICC? I do have legitimate reasons, sir. Here are the verdicts, A, B, C, D. It's not an illusion. And we know why we are using the system. We are aware about it. And we have the names, the dates, the facts, the laws, everything. We have it in our hand. And international legal community very aware about it. Now, about the quality of cases, once and again, please leave that to us. We are professional enough. It's not a matter of choosing titles, categories, names. We have to strategize the work, and I think those who are working, not working with the sort of Arabic mentality, too much shouting, too much politics, etc. No, with dates, with facts, with names, precise professional work on simple pace. Facts, standards, conclusions. I think, that's the fact why the Israelis are so scared from the ICC, not anything else. We want to do law. We want the rule of law. We are against the rule of jungle. And if they don't want us to do the rule of law, should we resort to the armed struggle? Should we resort to ISIS? Who doesn't rule of law wants the rule of jungle. We insist that we want to have the rule of law. That's our mission or mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for a few more questions, if you'd like to put your hand up.
Thank you for tonight, for being here with us. My name is Farah Al-Obaidi. I am an intern with the ICC, and I was hoping to get your thoughts on the coming elections in Israel. The leadership might change, it might not. What are your thoughts on this? Do you have any hopes, fears? We have all seen
Sorry to interrupt you, but we are professionals, not politicians.
I understand. My question is with regard to criminal liability. We have all seen that it's complicated for the ICC to deal with high-profile figures in office. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think it will have any effect? And I realize I want only your legal perspective on this, so I hope you can give me your thoughts anyway.
I'll answer in 1 minute your question, because this is not our area really, this is not our menu. For 22 years, since Oslo Accord has been signed, in the West, they used to raise very nice slogan with me and Shawan and our colleague. Whenever we meet foreign minister, politician, ambassador, etc., they say, of course, we fully agree about your approach, and we fully agree about the importance of rule of law, democracy, and human rights. But we think we have to victimize that for the sake of peace and security. And our argument all the way long was, since when peace and security contradict rule of law, democracy, and human rights? Since when? So our approach, hopefully Netanyahu won't be elected, and hopefully Itzibi and her friend, not to be elected or be elected. This is for us irrelevant. What's relevant to us? The victims we represent and bringing justice to them. If they want to make peace, what we are doing, very complementary for peace and security. Peace and security should go all the way along with rule of law, democracy, and respect of human rights and man's dignity.
Thank you. Let's take a couple more questions.
Thank you both so much for your presentation. I have a question for the gentleman on the right. So you spoke about how the ICC would be willing to, how Palestine Authority would be willing to have the ICC come and investigate. And I just had a quick question for you. On June 12th, 2014, I'm sure you're familiar with a few Israeli teenagers who were abducted. Do you think it's a coincidence that the Palestinian Authority chose to accede to the ICC jurisdiction on June 13, 2014, and everything after? And if that is a coincidence, do you think that there might be some sign there that there might not be quite so much openness from both sides? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. Okay. Well, it was directed here. No. Maybe you can take it.
Yes, to me.
Oh, no, Mr. Shawan. He's right.
Right. Not your right.
Not your right. But all of you are right. Look, we used to push for to give the ICC jurisdiction over the situation in Palestine since 2002. And we said to them clearly, that's the message. But at the end, and we used not to sleep at that night, mainly 31st of December. At the end, we said, you have to cover what's happened, at the minimum, what's happened in Gaza. And I think they were smart when they put 13th of June. This is my point of view. And why? It's the same date of the mandate of the Commission of Inquiry, UN Commission of Inquiry. It has a message, and also it's like to tell the Commission that we will make a teeth to your report. That's another thing is you can't go, the ICC will not go after every incident here or there, or every crime happened here or there. It will be at the end, will focus, and maybe they will select according different criteria, according financial things. I know how things will go. Another thing is the many criminals, they are the same. Those they committed the crimes also in 2008-9, even before and after, they are the same. And here, that this is how this process and this mechanism, how it works. But in the same time, in the content and the text of the declaration, they kept, the right of Palestine, even to submit another, if they need, to go retroactively before also June 13th. And here there is two different points of view regarding that. Some of the expertise, they said that Palestine has a right also to submit another declaration Others, they said, no, they have no right. And this is also, a matter of discussion, That's the issue, but what we got the minimum. I understand your point. Principally, we are to go retroactively to 2002, from the beginning of the jurisdiction of the ICC, but this is what we got at the end.
Okay, thank you. Any final questions? No, okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Maybe we just make some final comments.
Yes, of course.
I think we heading towards a new era. Situation on the ground really unprecedented, overwhelming. We never ever passed anything as such in the history of the occupation. But with that, I'm saying situation in Gaza due to the siege in the last 8 years, due to 3 wars passed, due to the given circumstances right now in Gaza, strategical siege, institutionalized siege, no reconstruction so far or anything moved in this regard after 3 wars. No unity government on the ground, it's virtual government in Gaza, no political head. The destruction of the tunnels and the closing of Rafah, this made Gaza per se, sort of animal zoo. International community dumping to it some food and medicine. We have there almost 65% unpaid or unemployed, 90% under poverty line. We are having 85% of the people depends on UNRWA and other food programs, rations. They are shifting us to be a nation of beggars. Not because we are so. This is one of places with the highest percent of university graduates on earth. We have one of the most skilled working class. We have fantastic business community. But we are not allowed even to treat our sewage or water. They want people to leave. And this is the first crime.
To leave where? To the sea.
To the nowhere. And this is the first crime ever. UN, as part of the quartet, is part of it. I mean, this happens with the involvement, approval of the UN, which is something ugly and bad. Situation in the West Bank and Jerusalem, it's not better at all. You have in Jerusalem this ethnic cleansing and Judaization, and almost, nothing left really in Jerusalem to negotiate about. And in the West Bank, due to the settlements, expansion, vertically, horizontally, the new settlements, the land confiscation, the annexation, apartheid wall, the bypass roads, across the West Bank, the hundreds of checkpoints all over the place, making it really brand of apartheid. So what was supposed to be concluded in May 4th, 1999,
to have a Palestinian state in it. Now we have the worst situation ever in our history. Even the most critical people against Oslo, I'm one of them, I never ever thought in a nightmare this might happen. The world sympathizes with the victims, but we also have no right to be good victims too. We have no right to be good victims. We cannot just see our children, wives, mothers, fathers, and people being killed, and there is this conspiracy of silence towards what's going on. That's why what's happening there in this part of the world, big shame, not for the Israelis, but for those who provide full legal political immunity and keep the conspiracy of silence about what's going on there. This work in the ICC gives us, as a Palestinian, not military superiority, not economical superiority, give us moral, human, civilized, and legal superiority. And that's what gives us that strategical optimism. We do have just, fair, and right cause. And we are having victims who are seeking justice. And we have big question. Is there a court for Gaza? Is there a court for Palestine? When the ICC began in the mid-90s, I was acting as vice president of the FDH and ICJ board member. And both organizations represented the draft law to the Human Rights Council. And I was having a dream as a lawyer, because the entire philosophy of the ICC to be a court for no man's court. It's a court for individuals, not for states. I hope that we realize this dream will become fact. And I hope ICC disappoint us. Otherwise, they are sending for Palestine and the region very, very wrong message. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you to you both for your presentations, and thank you to you all for attending. I believe the next lecture we're hosting is towards the end of April with outgoing ICC judge Trenda Filova. So keep your eye on the Asser Institute website, and good night. Thank you.